Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Cassie, also known as KnittaCass. My YouTube channel is where I share the things that I am knitting, the patterns that I am drooling over, the things that are going on my family farm, a little bit about some life, and always a spice of mental health. So grab your favorite beverage and something that you want to work on. But let's get started. If you're new here, thanks for joining. If you're a returning member, thanks for coming back. You can find me on Instagram as KnittaCass16. You can find me on YouTube as KnittaCass Creates. First of all, I want to start with my finished objects, so I have a few of those. I have finished my Advent socks. So these were 24 stripe Advent from the Cozy Knitter. I've always wanted it, so I got it this year, and I put in this yarn, unknown colorway, in as the heels, toes, and cuff. I think they came out fabulous. I can't wait to wear them. So that is a finished object. I also finished my first washcloth of the year, so fabulous for me. Last year I wanted to knit 12 washcloths. I was thinking like once a month, and I didn't. I maybe made 4, so off to a good start. Number 1. The Ridged Feather Washcloth. I'll put the name of the author here. I did get a washcloth book for, I think it's called Kaleidoscope Kitchen from Knit Picks, so I could have some inspiration about different washcloths that I could knit, so it wasn't boring and monotonous, and hopefully I can do my 12 washcloths this year. I have the Multnomah Falls hat. I'll put a picture of the finished object. I have it actually waiting to go out in the mail. I'm waiting for a pom-pom that I ordered from Yarn Cafe Creations to come in so that I can add it on top of the hat and mail it out to its special recipient for their birthday. So I'll put a picture in here so you can see what it looks like. I thought I knew better than the pattern, so when the crown decreases started, I did the opposite. So if it said to do the cable like the right way, I was doing the left way, and it looks very different than everybody else's, so I should have just listened to the pattern. I have a very bad habit of thinking that the pattern, like overthinking the pattern and then doing what I think and like messing it up. I'm also a lazy knitter, so if I put a lot of effort into it, I don't usually fix it. I should have fixed this one because it's very obvious, but my recipient isn't going to care because it was made with love. That is it for my finished objects. So for my whips, I have another washcloth on the needles already. I'm pretty proud of that. I am using the same yarn. It's got this nice striping pattern, and I am doing I don't know what it's called. I'll have to put the name down below. It is by the same author who developed the Ridged Feather washcloth, and her patterns are really easy to read and very intuitive, so I'm excited to knit on that. I'm hoping to have that done by the end of the month, but I think if I truly work on it, I could get it done in the next week or so. However, I'm working on some knit patterns. I have one that I'm almost close to getting ready for testers. I have another one that's been drawn up in my notebook for a really long time, and I'm just getting really excited to knit it up and share it with everyone else. So I'm going to be casting that on probably this weekend. I will keep that one a secret until it's ready to come out, because it's tied to a book that a lot of people are reading, and I just think the excitement will be that much better if it all kind of hits my audience all at once. So more details to come. That may not be ready for a few months, so don't get too excited, but it is exciting for me to be working on that pattern. I also have casted on for the Pumpkin Spice Latte socks, which is from my Make 9. I have my Isle sweater from Lindsay of DK Serving, or Simply Serving, excuse me, and I am using this colorway. It is this nice orange colorway, and it's got some tweed in it, which is quite fun, and it is called Basic Bitch, and it is by Fiber Stash Yarns. Fiber Stash Yarns is a yarn company that is local in Vermont, and I just love their stuff. They have tons of colorways. The owner, well, I think there's more than a couple owners, but the one lady that I've met a few different times has been absolutely fabulous. I love knitting with the yarn. It's like the perfect blend of soft but not too slippery, and it's just my favorite. So I'll try to put a link on the bottom, so if you're interested, I would love to help support a small business, and she is my favorite. I have not yet cast on the cabled sweater that I want to do. The cable sweater is called the Monte Rios sweater. I believe it's by Stephanie Talent. If I'm wrong, I'll put it down below. And I'm using this nice pink yarn from Knit Picks. Of course, I didn't bring the ball band, but it's a Snuggle, and it's super soft, and it's kind of looks mohair-y. So when I touch it, I want to cuddle with it, but I'm not sure it's going to be completely great for a cabled sweater. So I did do swatches, and it is incredible. I never swatch. It is incredible how much of a difference a swatch makes. So now I know what size needle will work for the straight, and then I just need to do a swatch for the cable pattern to make sure that this yarn can work. I ordered 10 skeins of it, so if it doesn't work, I'm going to need to order a sweater supply from Knit Picks in a different type of yarn. And while I'm excited at the idea of getting new yarn, I'm not excited about it delaying my project. I'm hoping to cast this sweater on either this weekend or next weekend. And the reason I put it on a weekend is because during the week I've just been really crazy with running to appointments. And when I start the sweater, I don't want it to be rushed. I want it to be like this really nice, kind of calm, meditative zone where I'm just really relaxed and know that I can just kind of sit and knit it for a few hours at a time, rather than maybe even being interrupted during my cast on. So stay tuned for that and see how that will work. I think I showed it. I did finish a hat for my husband. Not a fan of the type of wool, but he loves it. He says it is super warm. I did, however, get, I guess I'll go to acquisitions in a minute. I did get some new yarn for it. So I'm using my Halloween bag. This is by Nicole Stitches Designs. She is no longer making knitting bags. She was doing knitting bags in a podcast, and I can't remember if she's like a technical writer, but she's writing as a passion and has a different type of writing for her job. And she was just getting overwhelmed because she just had a baby, I think in October. But I do love her bags. So I'm a little sad, but I do plan on ordering some bags from Black Pearl Magic. She loves pink just as much as me, which is pretty awesome. But she also has these knitting bags where they're completely see-through, or they might have a peekaboo window, and I'm just like, I'm all about that. I'm so excited. So every time she has a shop update, I like forget, or I get there too late and she sells out so quick. I'm also wanting to maybe try getting a bag from Stolen Minutes. She makes project bags. She is actually a friend of Kay from the Crazy Sock Lady, and they live in the same area. But back to my whip. So this is the Rose Covered Cage Mitts. It's no longer a SCO. In case you don't know, I think I made it up, but it's should have, I say should have because Vermont, should have cast on already. So that's a SCO. So it's no longer a SCO. I've had the yarn and the pattern for over a year. This is the stem and the start of some rose petals here, and then like up here will be the rose. I'm at the point where I'm going to do the thumb gusset stitches. This is how it looks in the back, which is super fun and exciting. I love how a pattern has something exciting on the second half of it. Otherwise it's kind of boring, although as long as it's a knit stitch, because when I'm on the back of a pattern, I want to kind of fly and get back to the exciting part. But this is a knit stitch that is color work that, like, if you can see, it doesn't continue the red in the same spot. So it's very exciting and at the same time super meditative, and kind of gives you that like knit break and then back to the color work pattern in the front. So I'm super excited about that. Okay, that is it. Yarn acquisitions. I got the Snuggle Puff yarn in, I'll put the colorway down below. This is from Knit Picks. It's showing true to color. It's like this really cute bubblegum color, super buttery soft, got like a mohair kind of glow to it. Hoping to knit my sweater out of that, my cabled sweater. And I've got 2 of these Grizzly Heather Wool of the Andes from Knit Picks. And I plan on making my husband a better hat or an additional hat in these. I love using the yarn. It is 100% wool, but it's super soft. Then I got some new Dishy yarns. So I have had the 3 yarns. Like I have a yellow, I have a green, I have a Christmas one that keeps getting tangled, so that'll probably go away. What else? And that striped one I showed you. So now I have this nice red Dishy from Knit Picks. The colorway is Fiesta Red. And then I've also got this one. It's not quite a teal, but it's not quite a green. I don't know if it's going to show up. There we go. And the colorway is Kenya. Oh, I think somebody in their podcast just got the same color and they had a hard time pronouncing it, or they weren't sure how to pronounce it. That's pretty cool. That's exciting. That's it. So in terms of patterns that I'm drooling over, I did my Make 9 at the beginning of the year. I talked about it in my last podcast, so if you want to get more details about what I want to knit or see some of the images, please check out my episode 16. For lack of time and editing, I'm not going to repeat it in this episode. I may repeat it in the next one because it'll be 2 weeks later. But for now, I'm just going to let it be and refer you to episode 16. Okay, so what I want to cast on next is the Brioche Heart Hat by Jonathan Tallow. It's been on my wish list for a while. I am going to be knitting it with my friend Alana from the 11 Stitches membership. Her and I are pretty tight. Even if we don't talk very often, we totally kind of vibe when we're talking or hanging out together. I absolutely love attending her Zooms every Thursday, which is today. So I'm super excited that if I get my stuff done today, well, I'll go anyways, but I'll feel less guilty if I get my stuff done today and then can just totally relax and hang out with her. We've got a lot of new members in the 11 Stitches membership, so we've got a lot of new faces coming in. And it's just really great to build this community that feels like a family. And they're from all over the world, just about. And I just absolutely love learning about kind of the weather patterns and the culture and the things that are normal for different parts of the world. My weather pattern in Vermont is super different for some of the people that are in the Midwest. And it's just fascinating to, learn about these things that I don't pay attention to, and I just pay attention to living in Vermont. So it's super exciting. And every time I shovel off my car, which this year hasn't been a whole lot, I just think I have no tornadoes, I don't have fire season, winter's not that bad. I think that brings us into life. This one's going to be kind of quick. I'm going to start doing weekly podcasts, and so some of them might be a little bit longer, some of them might be a little bit shorter. This one's probably going to be a little bit short because I didn't get much time to cast on or knit things, and I don't have a whole lot to show you. So in terms of life, everything's going well. My daughter's at a point where she's stable-ish. She's never going to be 100% stable, but we're headed in the right direction, and that has taken a lot of stress off of me. And my sheep are doing great. The Goliath, he is the gentleman. His wool is starting to get this really nice crimp, and every time I see it, my heart just sings, and I'm like, ah! So I'm really excited to see what their wool will look like, and how much I'm going to get when we shear them in the spring. We did shear them early fall, and I was really disappointed that there wasn't a whole lot of wool. And honestly, after you do the, what is the word? Basically, you're spreading it into piles, getting rid of the waste wool, and just picking out the organic matter, like the hay and that kind of thing. And then you have the wool that's ready to be washed and processed. And the longer the wool is and the more crimp, the more valuable it is. And I had maybe 1.5 pounds, somewhere between 1 pound and 3 pounds of wool, and it really wasn't worth anything when I was picking other people's brains. And I did find out that the first shearing for sheep is not going to equate to much, and that the next shearing in the spring will be much different. So I'm super excited to see the change and to have that opportunity to share that wool with others. I'm probably going to send it off to a mill and get it processed. Maybe not all of it. I haven't quite decided. I'll probably decide more when we get closer to that, because I have that excitement and the excitement of the babies. They're probably going to be due around May. So this spring is just going to be super exciting. I'm super happy. Also, we are starting some homeschooling. We'll be starting it at the end of February. I'm very excited about it. I have a couple learners that are not traditional learners, and so traditional brick and mortar schools are not always is not always beneficial to them. And because of the COVID world and people having to quarantine in and out, sometimes they're home, sometimes the teachers are out, and it's just really not a consistent workflow. And I also like the freedom that in homeschool you can have a curriculum, but you also can include the things that they're passionate about and make the things around you count. For example, playing outside the other day and building a snow fort counted as PE, which is pretty cool. It's a little bit of a stretch for me right now as I'm getting my brain wrapped around homeschool, but I am part of some homeschool groups and kind of picking people's brains. And a lot of homeschool is learning about the world around you. And I'm realizing when I'm looking at the homeschool curriculum, comparing it to where my children are at, they're not quite there. And so I was a little worried about that. And I did ask one of the Facebook homeschooling schools in Vermont, or homeschooling groups in Vermont, kind of is that what should I do? Should I be worried? And they said that a lot of homeschoolers are actually ahead academically, and that this curriculum was most likely designed in an order that maybe the child was homeschooling the whole time and should not worry about it. So since this year has been stressful, but I also want some academic success, I have decided to take their 4 classes that they're learning and actually divide it into 2 fake semesters. So they'll do 2 starting in February and we'll finish it in September. That gives them a lot of wiggle room for life and just a little bit of assignment during the day, and then real life learning for the rest of the day. And then the next 2 classes will be between September and I think it finishes at the last day of January. Of course, everything in homeschool can be recalibrated based on what works and what doesn't work. But I think that would be a really great way to really give them the opportunity to learn and to build on the skills that happen naturally throughout life. And one of the things that I'm excited about teaching my kids, which sounds ridiculous, is what was I going to say? Resume writing, they don't do that in school. My children don't know how to do that. And even the formats on Word documents, it's not very clear if you haven't worked on a resume what exactly you should put in. So we're going to work on that. We're going to work on balancing a checkbook. They don't teach that in school. They don't teach them any of these financial literacy things at the school my children are at. And I see those as very, very valuable skills, especially since I have a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old. And they really just need some of those basic life skills. I also think it'll be fun to make some PowerPoints every so often and kind of have a family PowerPoint night where just kind of look at them and enjoy some popcorn. Maybe that's the geek in me, but I think it would be really exciting and give the kids an outlet that's not traditional, where they can kind of demonstrate what they're excited about learning or what they're excited about that they've already learned. Speaking of, and on the topic of snow, in Vermont, we usually get a lot of snowstorms. We've only had a couple, and the snow has disappeared in a couple days because we've been having a lot of days that are in the 40s and the 50s, which is not normal for this time of year. And so we had this huge nor'easter. A lot of people had this nor'easter on the northeastern part. And we got 12 inches. And we were so excited. It came down really fast and furious. Started Sunday night and kind of finished Tuesday morning, mid-morning. And my kids were out playing in the snow off and on. They go out, then they come warm up. And they are building this incredible snow fort. It's got a nice little doorway. Really thick packed walls, and it's going to be big enough to fit all 4 of the kids, even though I know for a fact my daughter won't go out there. And Papa, my kid's grandfather, even came over after we did barn chores and helped them bring the snow over. They were using the sleds and filling them with snow and then dragging them over to the fort instead of going back and forth, which is just genius. I thought that was really great. And it was just showing some natural learning. And so I will include some pictures of that. I'm super excited about it, very proud about it. So we'll show some pictures of that. And my Destination Imagination team is able to continue going on despite all this craziness in the world. If you don't know what that is, it is basically a program that has 5 main challenges. Each challenge has to have a play and certain elements in the play, and there's different categories. So there's fine arts, where it will really be focusing on the play theatrical part more than the other part. There's also a part where there's like building. There's one where there's more focus on science. There's a community service one. I can't remember what the 5th one is. And the kids get to decide which one they want to do, and then they have the freedom to choose how to incorporate the learning for that piece. And I'm sorry if you hear my dog in the background. She's getting a little upset because she just saw my daughter go upstairs and I'm in here, so she's wondering why we're home and not paying attention to her at the moment. Hopefully that will settle down in a minute. So it has science, technology, I don't know what the E is, engineering, and mathematics. So it is a very STEAM-based program. It is very exciting to see them learn and to see the creativity that they put it together. My kids have decided to do the science one, which is focusing on microworld. So they have to research different types of microscopy and what they do, what the differences are, and then choose at least one of them to put into their play and demonstrate it. They have to discover, or they have to research about a microworld and create their own microworld that is part of the play. Their background needs to be 3D, which is not always a component that needs to be done. They need to use a visual enhancement, and then there's like a mysterious object that they discover, and during the play they discover what the purpose is. So all these things get compacted into a play, and it's so amazing to watch the research and the creativity just mold into this major masterpiece. Like every year that I do this, my heart sings, and I'm so full of awe at how amazing the children are. And this is the first year that we've really had a mix of age groups. I kind of inherited a team that had been working together since they were really little. So last year they were 6th grade. The last time we did it, because of COVID, the last time we did it, they were 6th graders, and they were all in the same class, same grade. And I also was doing a team for my son, and we were doing the Rising Stars form, which you would do until 2nd grade, I think. And so that one's a little more loosely based, but still has to use a lot of creativity and information that they learned. And they were all in the same grade as well. They were 1st graders. Yes, they were 1st graders. So this year, because we're at the elementary level, but not quite middle school level, which starts at 6th grade, I have 3rd graders. I have 1 1st grader, 2 3rd graders, and 3 6th graders. And it has been a bit of a challenge in the beginning. And now the older children are like mentors to the younger children, and they don't have that awkward division between the two of them. And that's fabulous in itself. Last week we learned about like different types of microscopy, and it was just really funny how they were watching the videos where we were kind of learning it on YouTube, and they looked really bored. And then when we were getting together and talking about the kinds and the differences, and they were drawing pictures, you could see the glowing in their eyes. That it was actually fun. I think sometimes when kids are learning, they don't want to let on that they're enjoying it, especially if there's peers around. But if there's enough distraction around it, their excitement starts to come out. I'm very excited to see what they kind of discover and come up with, and I can't wait to show it off at the state competition, which is in March. Another thing in life, so my daughter is turning 18 this weekend. I don't know how in the heck I'm going to have a legal adult in my house. If you don't know, I'm in my mid-30s, let's just put it that way. And so it's really not common for the people around here to have an 18-year-old at the age that I am. I do know that that happens in other places, but we live in a very small, narrow-minded town. So it's a bit awkward because no one else is sharing that same experience. That aside, we have gotten her this really cute dress and this crown. Like, she's totally all going in with me. So she's got this cute dress, she's got the crown, she's got a sash that says birthday girl, and I am currently working today on making a string of photos that start from when she was born and just kind of do some different photos throughout her life as she's growing up and watching the changes, and then a chunk of them for like the last year or two as she's coming into who she is as an individual. I'm super excited about putting that up. Her party's this weekend, but I want to put that up today, and I just want to celebrate from here till then. Like, I just want her to know how much of a blessing it is that she is here and she's turning 18, and just how proud I am. She doesn't always recognize that I'm proud of her, and I'm really excited about making the rest of this week and maybe even next week all about her turning 18. So hopefully I might have some cute photos of her decked out in her birthday attire for my next podcast. In terms of books, I'm reading Into the Water on audiobook. It is the book club choice for the Love and Stitches membership. I think we're meeting 2 weeks from now. I'm very behind. I don't know if I'll finish it. And there are a lot of people saying that they're not really enjoying it, or they can't get into it, or they can't finish it. But I'm intrigued, so I will probably finish it. Like, I think I will just see where it goes. If there's a point where I give up, I give up. But I'm one of those people that does not give up on a book easily, even if it's kind of a crummy book. It takes a lot of terribleness, in my opinion. I don't mean any offense to that book or that author. It takes a lot for me to not finish a book. So I'm reading Into the Water. I finished Beast of Prey, which I shared in our last podcast. It was a bit of a letdown. It wasn't nearly as exciting as everybody says. I thought as a story, it was a good story, but it didn't have like that twist. It didn't have the unexpected surprise of like the main plot. Like, what does it really mean and where is it going? It was very predictable, and there was no character development. So it was decent. It's a good book to kind of read just to read, but it's not a good book to read if you like really want that true sense of getting into a book and watching it be something that stimulates your brain. And when you leave the book, you're like, wow, that was really cool. Or like, wow, I didn't expect that. And I finished Devouring Grey. I didn't think it was going to be a good book. I bought it because of the cover of the sequel called Book of Omens. And this one was great. There was character development. There was plot changes. There was actually a couple plot changes. And it left me at a good spot where I am now curious and can't wait to pick up the next book. I don't want to give too much away, but it is about 4 kids that have legacy they have to live up to based on their parents like being the founders of this town. And everything that they knew growing up is not anything that is actually true. And watching them experience that and experience coming into themselves as a person, and each individual had that. So 4 kids had this journey and this character development in this book. I thought this book was going to be really like, and I would give it probably a 4. That's it for books. I will be picking up the Book of Omens later today, and I can't wait to get into it. I probably will use it as a reward to do some housework. I kind of bribe myself to do things that I'm not looking forward to, with like a TV show or listening to a podcast, which sometimes I'll do while I'm cleaning, reading a book, or watching one of my favorite TV shows. And then in terms of mental health, I actually got this tip from a gentleman on TikTok. He always tried to commit suicide, I think almost 2 years now, and he has a new lease on life, and he's always encouraging people to pick themselves up, and not in a preachy way. He's just like, he always has like his morning coffee, and he's like, good morning, assholes, like, welcome to another day, here's something to look forward to, or I felt this way and now I feel better, or like, just take a moment for yourself, and that's all you need to do today. Like, very simple, very easy, and I just love him to pieces. If I remember, I'll try to write his TikTok name down below. But I I recently saw a video, I don't know how recent it is on his timeline, that says to do an hour, like be alone and do something for 1 hour that you enjoyed as a kid. And in his video, he was building with Legos. And I just thought, like, that makes sense. Like, the simplicity of being a kid, like, we miss that as adults. So my homework for you is to find something that you enjoyed as a kid and find a way to incorporate it into your week this week. I'm curious to see what you plan on doing. Like, list down below what you think you're going to do, and we will reconvene on this next week, and I'll share with you what I am choosing to do. So that's it for now. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye!